Hello folks, Emily here, your Harvest Market dietitian. I'm back in my kitchen. We've got another delicious recipe this week. I am doing egg roll in a bowl. So this one is something that I've seen a lot on the internet recently, and it's so good. It's so easy. It's basically taking egg roll filling and making a big dish out of it. So simple. One skillet. So I have my skillet preheating here. Before we start anything, I do have an optional add-on in my kit. So I don't know about you, but to me, one of the best parts about an egg roll is kind of the crispy, crunchy outside. And with egg roll in a bowl, you kind of miss that. So what I like to do, and this is something that I like to do because I'm a very textural person when it comes to eating, and I take great pleasure in foods and meals that provide lots of different textures. So I like a good crunch. So this is one of my favorite things to do. We have these egg roll wrappers, okay? So we have 3 of these, and this is what you would typically use to make egg rolls with, but guess what? They crisp up beautifully in the oven on their own. So we're gonna make some kind of wonton chips out of these, just baked in the oven. So I have 3 of these stacked, one on top of the other, and I'm gonna cut in half, and then, as you know, evenly as you can, but it doesn't have to be perfect, in half that way. And then we're gonna do diagonals this way to make kind of these chip shapes, and then this way. So you're gonna cut half, and then diagonal, and then you're gonna get a bunch of these kind of triangles, okay? Oops. And so I have a sheet pan prepared over here just with some parchment. I really like parchment because it really helps these not to burn. I highly recommend using parchment for this instead of something like foil. And then we're just gonna lay these all out on our prepared tray. So this, again, this is just a great thing to kind of have. They're a little bit lighter than something maybe that's fried, but you still get that really great crispy crunch. So we're gonna lay these out all over our sheet tray here. Make sure you get a big enough one because we want all of these to be laid in a single layer, not laying on top of one another. So 425 degree oven going, and I'm just gonna spray these with a little bit of olive oil spray. If you have like a misting oil, if you have cooking spray, whatever you've got. So I've got these laid out. Just gonna give them a spray. This is gonna help them crisp up a little bit. Okay, ta-da! And then these are gonna go in 425 for 5 minutes. So I wanted to show you that really quick before we got onto our recipe. Okay, so let's move on to the main star of the show here, our egg roll in a bowl. So what we're gonna do first, I've got my pan, my skillet preheating. We've got some lean ground pork. We're gonna add that right to the pan. Just like that, let it go, okay? You don't need to add anything to the pan. Meanwhile, we're gonna go ahead and get some of our other veggies ready. So this bag here, it has our shredded cabbage, shredded carrot. You don't need to do anything to it. Isn't that great? You don't need to cut anything up. It's already ready to go. So then we're gonna open up this package here. This has a lot of our aromatics. We've got some cilantro. Gonna save that for the end. We've got our garlic. We're gonna set that off to the side for a minute. Lots of beautiful fresh ginger, of course. We've got half of our lime, which is going to be used at the end, so I'm going to set that aside. And then red bell pepper. And then our onions. So we're going to get these guys going first. I like to do nice little slices of everything. If you want to do a dice, you certainly can. I just like to do a nice thin slice. So we're going to go ahead and prep these while our meat is cooking. Make sure you just keep an eye on it. Give it a good flip every now and then so it cooks. Now, if you're not using meat in your kit, you can go ahead and skip, obviously, adding meat because you don't have any meat to add. So you're gonna skip that. You're just gonna get your veggies prepped. Okay, so again, nice thin slices. That's just what I prefer. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to do thin slices. Again, you can do a nice fine dice if you want. Totally up to you. Okay. We just kind of want all of this to be nice and small. It's going to come together beautifully. Okay. So that's done. Now we're going to slice up our onion. So I just like to cut the bottom off, or the top, I guess, however you look at it. Cut that in half. Remove the skin. Sometimes it's so hard to get off, isn't it? Okay, and then we're going to do nice thin slices of the onion. Gorgeous. Okay, onion is done. So our onion and red bell are here. Whoops, I lost a good hunk of that meat, didn't I? Okay, so make sure your skillet is warm enough, hot enough, so we have a nice good sizzle going. So we're gonna keep on cooking that. We're gonna keep the meat off to one side. We're gonna keep it kind of scooted half over in one side of the pan. And then we're gonna start adding our veggies already. So I'm gonna open up my oil and I'm just gonna use half of my oil. We're gonna save the rest for later. And put that one side of the pan, and then we're gonna add our veggies. Again, you should hear a good sizzle as soon as it hits the pan. Oh yeah. Hear that? That's what we want. All right, so we're just gonna let that cook. Keep breaking up your meat. So while this cooks, we're gonna go ahead and prepare our garlic and ginger, because that's really kind of the last thing we have to do any chopping of. Isn't that nice? So I like to use a grater for my ginger, simply because it can be pretty fibrous, and sometimes it'll catch all of those kind of really stringy fibrous pieces and then leave us with the juice and all the good stuff that we actually want. So I like to use, like, again, a zester, grater, microplane. You don't have to use this if you don't have one. You can just give it a really, really good chop. But this comes in really handy, especially for ginger, because you'll see that we have, and I don't peel it. I just wash it off, and it'll kind of leave any of the super fibrous skin behind. And again, see all of this really fibrous stuff that we really kind of don't want in our dish. And then that leaves us with all of this beautiful, juicy kind of pulp, I guess, from the ginger that we do want in our dish. Okay, and then we're gonna do a nice chop of our garlic. So I just like to pound it down, peel it. Again, if you have a garlic press or you do want to use your grater, you can, but I find my knife works just fine for the garlic. Give it a good mince. Okay, so once this is all minced, we can kind of just push it off to the side. We're gonna add it here shortly. Okay, so everything is good. My veggies are getting sauteed. My onions are super fragrant. And my meat is cooked through. So then I'm just gonna toss everything together. Again, kind of breaking up the big pieces of meat with your cooking utensil here. I love to use like a wooden spoon or spatula for that reason. Oh my gosh, this smells so good already, and we hardly have anything in here yet. All right, give that a good toss. Now we're gonna add our big bag of cabbage and shredded carrot. So we're gonna just open this up and pour it right in. Ta-da! It looks like a lot, but it's gonna cook down, don't worry. That's what greens typically do. They look really big and then they cook down just beautifully. So we're gonna add that. We just wanna get kind of everything mixed in and worked in together. Then we're gonna add our bean sprouts. Love bean sprouts. To me, that's really what makes like a, you know, an egg roll taste like an egg roll. So we're gonna give this a good stir. Just incorporating everything together. Okay, looks really good. So then we're just gonna cook this down for just like a minute. We wanna add in our aromatics. Look at all that. Garlic and ginger, beautiful, going right in. Give it a good stir, mix everything together. Okay, see how it's already starting to kind of shrink down? Okay, so we're just gonna let this cook for like 1 minute. Okay, so we've been sauteing away. Now this is the point where I'm gonna add an egg, and the egg is what you guys have to provide in your kit. I give you everything else, and if you're doing a vegetarian version, then the egg is gonna be your main protein source. So you're gonna add, for a 2-person, you're gonna add 3 to 4 eggs. For a 4-person, you're gonna add 6 to 8, just depending on how much you want. So you're gonna need a big skillet for sure. So what I like to do is I'm just gonna add 1 egg. So if you're doing a 2-person kit with meat, then I'm just gonna add 1 egg. You can add 1 to 2 eggs, and then double that for 4. And I just think it gives a really beautiful texture. I love the flavor, I love the nutrition. It's just really, really good. So we're gonna go ahead, and what I like to do is kind of make a hole in the center, kind of push everything off to the side. We have the rest of that oil that we kept from before right here, and we're gonna add that in the center. That's where we're gonna put our egg. And we're gonna crack our egg right in the center there. And we're just gonna fry up our egg and let it kind of go. I will take something, I like to take like a little spoon or just like a little butter knife and just kind of break the yolk and then just let that go. Okay, so we're just gonna let that cook. Again, we want like the egg whites to start turning white and opaque, and when it's mostly done on one side, we can go ahead and just like mix everything together. So this is gonna go pretty quickly. We're gonna talk about our sauces next really quick, because that's really one of the last things. So we have our sauces here. It's simply separated into 2 cups because it's a lot of sauce. We have a lot of flavors in here, a lot of beautiful things in here, but we need a lot of flavor because cabbage is typically kind of bland, the meat is kind of bland on its own. So we're gonna add some beautiful homemade sauce. We have kind of your typical flavorings in here. So we have our soy sauce, we have a little rice wine vinegar for acidity, we've got some garlic powder, onion powder, pepper. I don't add any salt because the soy sauce takes care of that for us. We've got a little bit of sesame oil, which is great to add in the end for that flavor. And then we have some sweet chili, some Thai sweet chili sauce, gives a little bit of sweetness. And then some chili garlic paste or sauce that gives it just a little warmth and just is a beautiful addition to this. Okay, so our egg is looking good. I'm just gonna kind of scramble it up in the middle here, and then we're gonna toss everything together. Beautiful. Ta-da! Oh, and then it just adds so much. I think it adds so much. Just like you know, typically like a fried rice has egg. I love it in this as well. Look at this big bowl of deliciousness. Okay, we're gonna add our sauces. Give it a good shake. Add it in. Number 1 and number 2, making sure we get all of that goodness out of there. Then we're just gonna kind of let this simmer in the sauce for a minute so that all of our flavors get incorporated. Make sure you really give this a good stir. We want everything to be dispersed. So we're gonna cook off some of that liquid in the bottom as well. So remember, cabbage, a lot of the stuff that we have in here is pretty water heavy. And so we're just gonna kind of bring this up to a little bit of a simmer. We're gonna let it kind of simmer in that sauce a little bit so it gets incorporated. Beautiful. Meet you right back here. Okay, it's done. It's been sizzling away. I turned off the heat because we are absolutely done cooking now. So we're gonna add just a few little things. So I love cilantro in mine. We're gonna add a little bit of cilantro. I like to add a little bit in and then save some for garnish. You can do whatever you want. I know not everybody loves cilantro, so you can keep it out if you want to. You can just sprinkle it on your own dish, whatever you want to do. So save that. And then some thinly sliced green onion. I like to put some in and then again leave some for garnish. It's the only last bit of slicing you gotta do. Not too bad. Okay, stir some in there, and then we're gonna finish with lime. Squeeze that lime right in there. We're gonna keep it off the heat when we squeeze in the lime. This is just a finishing touch, don't forget it. It needs it, it's super important for that little bit of brightness and acidity. So you're gonna see some juice in the bottom of your pan. That's totally normal. That's just the water leaching from the vegetables, especially as we add a salt. The salt is gonna pull out some excess moisture. So that's totally normal, which is why we have these beautiful wonton chips to kind of scoop everything up with. So just pull these out of the oven. Oh, look at these. Look at how beautiful brown and crispy they are. So gorgeous. So serve these up. Dunk your wonton chips in there. Feel free to add a little hot sauce, sriracha. So good. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoy this recipe. I'll see you next time.